Hi, good afternoon. Um, Thank you, Professor, for watching my video, even though it's just a tiny bit late. Um, I was having trouble getting my computer to work, so here I'm using my cell phone, so just bear with me. Um, I have decided that I actually want to talk a little bit about the respect for marriage. And the reason for that is marriage is not just an institution, but it's this beautiful sacrament that has been so destroyed and so broken and torn down by, really secular society more so than anything. And being a young adult myself, I feel very affected by it, not just um, because of the detriments to marriage, but also in my own personal life in um, fighting for um, that sort of I guess I want to say that desire, I guess you could say, for wanting marriage and wanting it in the right way. Um, some of the things that we've come across, especially in my lifetime with my generation, is the issues with gay marriage, of course, people of same sex attraction wanting to have that type of union that is really spiritually and sacramentally only for a man and a woman that was gifted by God in Genesis, starting with Adam and Eve. And then another thing that I often think about is divorce. We sometimes forget that divorce is just as much of a detriment as gay marriage because the man and woman are breaking down their family unit, and that is usually caused by some other underlying um, issue, maybe adultery, which is also really a detriment to the marriage, spouses cheating on each other in all sorts of ways. But I also think about things like cohabitation, which is very much something that affects a lot of my peers and even people in my family, wanting to live with someone of the opposite sex before marriage. And also, lastly, I also think of other things such as polygamy and wanting to marry more than one person, which is also not, you know, the plan, God's plan for marriage and unity of man and wife. Um, so, two important um, pieces to understanding um, the respect for marriage and the family is my two favorite things, of course, the Catechism of the Catholic Church. This is the version I use. It actually came from my home parish, St. Columba in Hopewell. And then, of course, I do also have Humanae Vitae, which might look backwards in your video, which is the encyclical letter of Pope Paul VI, which is has a lot of wonderful things in here. Also, I just want to backtrack just for a minute about adultery. That also affects me and many of my peers having sex outside of marriage. I will be open and honest that that is something that I've struggled with and have taken to confession many times. Being in a 2.5 year relationship, it's very hard to control stuff like that, and having these teachings and these gifts of the church help ground me in understanding the plan for marriage and also help me to become a little more patient with myself. So, a couple things I just wanted to point out from the Catechism of the Catholic Church. One thing that really sticks out to me here is the openness to fertility. And going back to some of these detrimental pieces. Hi, sorry about that. My video ran out of space. Going back to the detriment, I wanted to draw some attention to the openness to fertility. A lot of these issues with the respect for marriage is that the openness to fertility is actually denied And being in that, the Catechism of the Catholic Church says children are the supreme gift of marriage and contribute greatly to the good of the parents themselves. God himself said it is not good that man should be alone, and from the beginning he made them male and female. Wishing to associate them in a special way in his own creative work, God blessed man and woman with the words, "Be fruitful and..." So as you can see, all these other types of detriments, so to speak, disrespects to the gift of marriage, don't seek this openness of fertility. Gay marriage, two people of the same sex cannot truly be open to fertility through the act of the sexual intimacy that they have with each other. Contraception, of course, is the detriment to respect for human life. It's blatantly denying life and the creation of life by blocking obviously the sperm from communicating and creating life with the egg in the woman. Any type of contraception, really. It doesn't necessarily have to be one type. There are many different ways, as I'm sure I don't have to get into too much detail about. Usually in adultery, too, oftentimes when someone's cheating on someone, especially in a married relationship, there is some type of contraception and not openness to fertility because they're already breaking the potential union that they have had with their spouse with someone else. So there's usually a denial of fertility in that detriment as well. However, not necessarily in polygamy, although because it is a disrespect to marriage. Polygamy, in a sense, is kind of the opposite. It's like hyperfertility, the complete opposite. They just want to have kids all the time, and that's why they have many. The male usually has many wives to achieve that. So I'm not going to get into too much detail because I'm already starting to run out of time. But as we think about these things, one thing that also stood out to me from Humanae Vitae is the inseparable aspects, the union and procreation. So going back to this life-giving act that marriage has that you can't have anywhere else. I mean, you can create life, obviously, without being married, but there's this inseparable piece to it, being unified in the sacrament of holy matrimony. And indeed, by its intimate structure, the conjugal act, while closely uniting husband and wife, makes them apt for the generation of new lives, according to laws inscribed in the very being of man and woman. By safeguarding both these essential aspects, the unitive and the procreative, the conjugal act preserves in its fullness the sense of true mutual love and its ordination to man's most lofty vocation of parenthood. We think that men of our day are particularly capable of confirming the profoundly reasonable and human character of this fundamental principle. Really, the short moral of the story is when it comes to Catholic moral teaching, we need to be able to understand this and respect God's plan for marriage and really the plan for life. I mean, the two really go hand in hand. Obviously, I'm not talking, about abortion or anything too much right now, but by having this understood and practicing it as best as we can as Catholics, it becomes much more tangible for us to understand, again, the respect for human life and for one another when we ourselves are in this intimate union of marriage, first and foremost with Jesus Christ in a way. We have to have that with him before we can have that with someone else. And as I study more about moral theology, I really have to reflect on my own life and the way I live it and how I approach the sacraments, um, because I really understand. Um, Most of the time, I really understand that, when we're approaching Jesus, we're also asking him to become more like him. And um, as we study the Ten Commandment unit rather, um, Jesus really broke that down for us, and told us, like, these are, you know, the most simplistic ways, in a sense, to follow Jesus. We have these rules laid out for us. So with that said, I think I am actually over 7 minutes with the issues I had with my video and storage timing. So thank you for listening, and I hope that this short video gives you a little bit better of an idea of the things that I've been pondering in this class, and the things that I'm really coming to think about and will take away from it as I move on to the next courses. And I will be taking the next moral theology class with you, Dr. Ashe, in the fall, so I will definitely be looking forward to that. All right, thank you. Have a good day, and God bless.